Good to hear.
Good to hear.
Did you read this? Huh?
Yeah.
Did you know on the board?
Yeah.
But I'm the don't change to right here.
참말로 다시리
So, touch the lead to everyone.
아니 맞아들이 덴바시 나니 아니 덴바시가 셰샤나 마운드니 아니 이거 맞으나 전다 용나 디서 돌아래도
So today we're going to talk about the Four Noble Truths. But among those, just the first, if you go through all of the Four Noble Truths, then it might be too much, I think. And if we don't get an understanding here in this class, then it's just a waste of time, this class. Yeah.
디 아니 덴바시 나네 덴바 동보니 등에 덴바나 그저 덴비 거시에이
So we're going to talk about the first two Noble Truths, which are the truth of suffering and the truth of origin.
아니 덴바시 나니 다 등에 덴바 그저 덴바데 지도 뭐就是关于这个你레와요 디 딩거 넘버 더 로지 아주 지도데 로지 주주도 넘버 주주 것이
Yeah, so probably most of you have heard many times about truth of suffering and truth of origin. I hope you have heard a lot. And yeah, and today we're going to talk about the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths and the 16 the 16 distorted views related to the Four Noble Truths.
딘디 넘버 주주디 덴바시라 덴바시 시시자니 등어 덴발시 군주 덴발시 람지 덴발시 고비 덴발시 딘디 시제 주주레노라 디노제 넘버 로직들이야
So both the 16 aspects and the 16 distorted views related to the Four Noble Truths, they have four aspects to the first truth of suffering, four aspects to the truth of origin, four aspects to the truth of cessation, and four aspects to the truth of path. And it's the same towards the 16 distorted views.
드니 가서 등어 덴비 땡게 넘버 제들 마시잖아 등어 덴발라 다 등어 덴비 그 넘버 제트 간디제라나 아니 베나 자라치 통마 송마티나 디그 줍자라고 간디제스 등어 덴발라 간디제라나 기도 가서 등어 덴바지 시 다디 시온데 디그 줍자라고 디그 키춘라고 딜 같이 요래라나 오라 넘버 지 요래 어디 그리시아레
So what is the meaning of aspects? Taking for example the truth of suffering. So when, for example, we look at an object, so to understand the object, we look into the characteristics, the ingredients, what is the object made of, the quality of the object. So in a similar way, these four aspects of the truth of suffering, they are the characteristics of this truth of suffering. Yeah.
다 딘디 그 등어 덴바딜라 아니 등어라들 간디 가서 아니 등은 제거라디 딘디 그 젠바딜라 아니 달로지나 알로 로지다 남바시온디 로지티 르 아니 멘티 초콜레레 오브젝트로라 엔 남바디 포지티브 아니 남바레 르지레노
Listen, look, me tomber.
Yeah, object consciousness rendera. Logity le chunjalo. Nambadi ani chunjalo mai le yontaba.
So this the aspects, when it talk about the 16 aspects and the four aspects related to the truth of suffering, they are views that are not mistaken, and the distorted views, they are views that are not in accordance to reality. They are minds that are not in accordance to the reality of these four aspects, for example, of the truth of suffering.
다 등을 동복 간지지 등을 세우려 빼나 마소고 아니 자지 녀리 pombo 아디 따버타와라다 디 따버제바지오레스.
So what is the first one of this the aspects of the truth of suffering? So these contaminated aggregates. We look into these contaminated aggregates. Sorry, this is the first distorted view. Look,
logic.
Sorry. The first distorted view of the truth of suffering is looking into these contaminated aggregates and perceiving them as permanent.
Yeah, the engineer should see the contaminated aggregate as a permanent. In the pombo tabar tamar, then ngata way in a pombo kaduna and she chutamja tabi ranjim tabatama tabamato, matabi roja.
For example, in my case, he said in English, I don't need to translate. But in my case, like when I look into my aggregates or when I look into anything, actually, I don't see it being the nature of impermanence. I only see it all the time being permanent. That's how I see things.
The tabar tawadi, tabata inza, the lochol mataba tobala, mataba the kiji ginjaj togores.
And because of there is this distorted view of permanence, the opposite of this, what needs to be realized is the quality of things changing momentarily every single moment, which is the realization of impermanence. Yeah. Distorted view is like a wrong view, a wrong understanding.
Yeah. Logic love the kozago le yon taba
Yeah, it's a wrong mind. Yeah, you can say.
Yeah, wrong mind.
Wrong mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the
logic the number aspect and the distort views object.
Yes. So there are 16.
Just like impermanent, permanent. Impermanent and permanent is the object. The impermanent is the aspect. The permanent is a distorted
views. Yeah. For each aspect, there is a distorted view or there is a wrong mind. So
you said 16.
Yeah, there are 16. Yeah, there. Yeah.
Four aspects and 4 distortions.
Yeah, no, there are 16 aspects and 16 distorted views.
Okay, 16 aspects and 16.
For each aspect, there is one distorted view that is connected to it.
Yeah, just object. 16 aspect and this 60 distorted views. It's just object. Mind. Yeah, it's mind. Do you pen tabar candida or the penata kanzangar sejona angasani legati chegoas, agunda tichegoyas, ani kazanga tichebayas, tindig samnojimado, the kijig ranjin tontongaris.
So, for example, if I take myself as an example, how does this grasping at permanence manifest in my life? So every day or any time, I'm used to thinking, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna do this thing and that thing. Oh, tonight I'm gonna do this and that. And yesterday I have done this and that. That's how I perceive myself. I don't perceive myself changing momentarily.
Tiniki charge malo get you degrass. Natiti and legati check, did but legati and teacher with the charge momboji. Tiniki someone so dancing Louis Juni and Rogores.
And then I think, oh, I'm going to stay in this earth until I am 110 years old. And then until I am this age, I'm going to do this job. I have this project. So all these projects, they are the way that the plans are being made is with this grasping at permanence.
That do metabala with go metabala go metaba toyundilla, go kitchi in George and toyundilla, only Tony Devali tokare, Gunda Devali tokare, metabang rang number toyundi, metaba range toyundi, penangata with the ngaran, metaba range todi, that is Gunda na demadil ngaran. She don't miss it.
And if I have this realization of impermanence of things being permanent, then when I think of tomorrow, when I think of next week, I have the doubt. There is a doubt whether I'm actually going to be here or not.
딘디기 메타바 도저들 메타바들 타라몽보 그 넘버 7데 맞저 숑는 마시오데 나치 진제기 단제 라윤디 페난디 갑디 나다노 쇼베 메타바 라파잖아 메타바 라반다잖아 디 갑디 나 조반 통소스 디 다노 쇼바 카브렌도 딘디 문제 제마도 디 다노 쇼바 갑 문제는 다노 쇼바 갑디 기지 인자르서 요 말았어
Could you just
요 말았어 디 나타부디가 다노 쇼바 갑 르르틴디 진제 용거스
so dimmi ta rappare
dimmi ta paravar.
Yeah, so one example, so impermanence also works in levels of more subtle impermanence.
Tanzeraba. Pena. Ano shogi ngak dikap di shogi ni dua la na samudri ji yongra. Di tanzeraba jiris.
Tanzeraba jiris. So there are levels of subtlety in the understanding of impermanence. So one example of gross impermanence is, for example, I look into this cup. And I drank water from this cup this morning. And when I look at this cup, I think, oh, it's the cup from this morning. But this is grasping at the permanence because the morning cup is already gone. You know, in the next moment, it was not there anymore. But I think this is the cup of this morning. Yeah.
다 단자라바 샤디 단자 참물라디고 또 단자 참무 도발라 마다바 참무 도거라스.
And then so to understand the grasping of permanence in the subtle way, you need to realize the subtle aspect of impermanence.
That tindiki ngazundi pena kaptabti mataba tobala tindi kapti kichigin joaji tongores.
And to realize the aspect of impermanence of this cup, you need to realize that this cup is changing moment to moment, moment by moment.
딘디기 기치긴 저라디 르긴 저라디 다발 되니 도거래 다와긴 저라디 아니 던타긴 저라디 되니 도거래 던타긴 저라디 냐마그 냐마리릭 뜻은 저라디 되니 도거래 냐마리릭 뜻은 저라디 까라 추저리릭 저라디 되니 도거래 추저리릭 저라디 까차리릭 저라디 도거래 까차리릭 저라디 세계리릭 저라디 도거래스.
To realize that this cup, correct me if I'm wrong, to realize if this cup is changing year by year, you need to realize that it's changing
years and months.
You need to realize that it's changing month by month. To realize that it's changing month by month, you need to realize it's changing day by day. To realize it's changing day by day, you need to realize it's changing hour by hour. If it's changing hour by hour, it's changing minute by minute. If it's changing every minute, it's changing every second. If it's changing every second, it's changing every single moment.
And 딘디기 페나마다 세킨 찍노라 메타바 참모레데 세키치 코로나라 메타바가 기치 긴저와들 착신이마 착신나 착직직 치그레스.
If you go into the subtle impermanence, every single second he said the number 60 changes happening within this cup.
다 뒤니 미타바 다 딘디기 가서 간딘제우를 딘디고 풍부 나수근 사진열리 풍부 등이 가두이나 따반자여이다 아니 디르디 원기 자와 간을 자와 제나요 당제기 르고 온도 손이 자와디 삼서 친절로가 라본도 그랬어
자와양 친절로가 되기를
스바레스
스바레스. So because we see we have this grasping at the permanence of this contaminated aggregates, and our actions, they are made based on this grasping at permanence. That's we act based on this grasping, and because of this grasping, sometimes we have wrong actions because they are contaminated with this wrong grasping at the permanence. 아니 그냥 컨설런트 사지 공부 그리나 진짜 컨설런트 공부 그리래 색채 그리나
다지 녀리 풍부 라딜러 주기 풍부 수이 풍부 ndishigi pombo ngaka tsongetela zajinyoli pombo la press.
So just to explain what is contaminated aggregates. So maybe some people don't know what are aggregates. So the aggregates are the collection of the physical body, supipombo, the feelings, soipombo, the shipombo, that's not good. recognition.
Ndichi pombo, ndichi pombo.
The Chifumbo, so the compositional factors of the body.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the Namshipumbo,
Ndichi pombo.
and then the consciousness to
pombo
the
labdil
mind.
chi pombo labdil pena chala mambuji choyonde tila pombo chila gores. Pena tindi chala mambuji choyonde tila pombo chila gores.
When we say Pumpo, when we say aggregate, it's like a collection of things, right? That are forming something.
Tiri ngazo di na pombo di chu tindi ki chala tel toma dila chala nga cho tindi choni tindi choba dila pombo ta gores.
So these aggregates, when we refer to these contaminated aggregates, we're referring to these 5 ingredients that form these aggregates.
6, no?
5. 5.
pombo nga.
5 cents.
Did I say 6? Sorry. Yeah, the 6 maybe it's like namshiki pombo do you
Tito pombo nga ma pombo tula ma ta nga.
namshiki
Sa nyoli pombo nga labdi tu yo lost to
namshiki pombo no la
sui pombo ndichi pombo number shi pombo nga
namshiki pombo no la ni tu
nga re so zuki pombo sui pombo ndichi pombo number shi pombo tamita ko tu sira
this is
아니 다요 등어 요 따통 신바지 가리다 그러나 자지 기품보디 대화 생고르스 가디나 코 데비랑지 진zen데 그랬어.
So going to the second aspect. So the second aspect
destroyed.
The second distorted view. So the second distorted view is we look into these contaminated aggregates and we perceive them to be the nature of happiness.
Yeah, pure. Yeah.
So each aspect has more
No, each aspect has one distorted view. So now this distorted view is related to the second aspect already. Yes.
뒤에 가서 가디나 스고 풍보디 맞짱 따토고면 왔어. 가디나 짱하지만.
So when we look into our aggregates, we see them as being pure, as being happy, as being happiness.
Yeah,
cause for happiness. They were good.
다 코고 능력이 도초. Suffering object.
Yeah, the opposite of suffering.
Yeah, 가디나 지금 가서 풍보디 대랑지지마도 또 능력이 랑지디 맞짱 그랑지지 가는 통통고면 왔어.
Yeah, we cannot see when we cannot perceive this contaminated aggregate as being in the nature of suffering. So the opposite of suffering is the way we perceive them, which is being the nature of happiness. The contaminated aggregates.
어디 애니 능력이 된게 로직 니바드레스. 이런 젠바드.
That is the second distorted view of the truth of suffering.
아니 자지기 폼보 디레서다 한다. 짱왔다. 자지기 폼보 짱왔다라디 아니 맞고 폼보디 능력이 롱지다 그랬어라. 디나라 아니 짱와인게 그 다도 폼보니 뭐 타대인 게 진행 거라서 다 폼보 타된 셈바지. 다도 폼보니 타대지다 그랬어. 폼보디 롱 교자다. 다들 롱 교지.
롱교치.
들이치다 그랬어.
아니 딜록슈리 non pas de la carina.
디글 넘바디들.
So the third one, going to the third aspect is the aspect of emptiness of the contaminated aggregates, and the distorted view related to this aspect is we look at these contaminated aggregates which we don't perceive to be in the nature of suffering, and the way we perceive it, the perception we have is that there is an I that is not of the same nature as the contaminated aggregate. So it's like it's separate. It has a separate nature from the contaminated aggregates, and it's this I is like the user. It's using the contaminated aggregates, and the contaminated aggregates are what is being used.
되게 다지노. 이 다디 바바그랑제 장유랑제 다그레스.
This I is going to be perceived being pure and permanent.
Yeah. 되게 다디 아니 다디 그 도저가 넘버 또라 Tindi 그 다지 매바 똥유들이 아니 티 똥반 다매바 똥반이 중어를 그랬어.
And then the opposite of this distorted view is the emptiness of the existence of this I.
예, 가르치는 tindi 그 다지 가서 요 말왔어. 그나 다바인게 롱아인게 아니 지부인게 tindi 다지 폼보던 뭐 타대인 거지. 아니 요 말왔어.
Because there's nothing apart from these aggregates here that we can perceive to be permanent, unitary, and independent.
tindi 그 다지 매바 똥유들이 티티라 똥반이라고 그랬어.
Krijg je
tindi 그 다디 따바와 지부와 롱와 폼볼리 뭐 타대바 tindi 다지 매바 똥디 딜라 똥반이 또 그랬어.
And perceiving, realizing that there is no I that is permanent, unitary, independent, of a different nature, separate, aside from these 5 contaminated aggregates, seeing that there is no such thing like this, that's the emptiness, this aspect of emptiness, the third aspect.
다 지바들 자지기 풍부코로 다다왔어. 다 풍부코로 다다고 그랬어. 그리고 풍부가 다디 다기 관계 다디 직발했어. 다디라 다 직발 단계여 기도 로바 단계여랬어. 이 차라게 봐라. 저는 자지기 풍부 다다라져라. 이 로지를 저 디스트리뷰르다.
그래서.
근데 자지 풍부 다다가 다디 다시 따바인게 직비인게 롱아인게 되는지 풍부 띵이 되는지다고 그랬어.
Didik tak 그랬어. 풍부랑 딱
풍부코로
그러면
풍부 같다 그라. 다시 풍부든 다타 풍부가 되는게 다디 기주 somdo dembaga tabaenge chipubaenge rongaenge
되는지다고 그랬어. 풍부랑 딱
되는게 다디.
And the fourth aspect is the aspect of selflessness. And the distorted view that is related to this aspect is perceiving this self, the I, to be one in nature with the aggregates, and having these characteristics also of permanence, being unitary, and being independent.
Yeah. That dilala mazu shoni channel kongi 동반이 또 다음에봐 라들라 타라게 개번진게 요래 아니 가지고 타라 요말 직발을랑 요래스.
So that between these 2 aspects of emptiness and selflessness, there are some scholars, some schools that will posit one being subtle, one being grosser. Some of them say that there's no difference in subtlety between these 2. So there are two ways of understanding. Yes.
About what you said right now, so the I which they are referring to as having a more gross and subtle aspect, right? What you said, right?
I'm saying some schools, they say that there is a difference in subtle and gross, like of this emptiness and the selflessness, these 2 aspects, the third and the fourth aspects.
Okay.
다딜리치도 아니 맞아 몸벌티나 지면 좀 지단 줄서 일라 지칼로 시야 맞 니그는 가르는 전 단다 시야 또도 발라디 야 줄서 또 시야가 아니 사모든 데반도스 인디 이거 맞 이거 좋아하는 거나 맞나 좋아하는 것도 스파지 그 자신은 세부샷스 바레스 나가디 신요디 나가도 등어디 비치주시셔서 그래서 그 수면나 맞아 바즈 기자 좋아하는 바즈 기자 싫지나 and it is sebucha rivayo ngariondus mombujduna magona chumidus.
Yeah, I think if we go explaining much more in this direction, maybe I think there's maybe can become a bit hard to understand or maybe confusing. So if anything that was told here about these 4 aspects of the truth of suffering, so the more if you wanted to make questions, and then maybe it gets more clear. Yeah.
Like I know what he's talking about, but I don't really get the connection to the first buka. Like what is
so the first what?
The first suffering,
okay.
the first noble truth. I don't see like usually when we talk about it, it's the truth of suffering, the 3 different aspects of suffering. I'm not really sure how this like connect.
How these 4 aspects connect.
Yeah.
Number G dit so dan ngagi temba di jawazo tugim
Yeah.
요아요레스 베너라
jawazo tume.
맞아 단다 벌 직전에 저절로 가르시르나 등어 된바다 근조 된바다 고비 된바 라기 된바 그런 거 잡아도 그쪽에 기주시에 좀 말했어 다단 디스 좀 등어 된바 그렇고 등어라도 간디 등어 된바라도 간디 따오르나 등어 된바라도 기준 되니 지어라다 되게 기주도 마시어 버렸어 등어 된바 그렇고.
Yeah, so these 4 aspects, they are characteristics of this first truth of suffering. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second aspect was suffering, right?
Suffering, yes. Suffering. Yes. Impermanent suffering, emptiness, and selflessness.
Yeah, the 등어 된바 그럴라. The truth of suffering has if I say to aspect, the permanent suffering, emptiness, and self-life. Yeah, this is aspect. Yeah, so the object of this mind to destroy views is this so long thing. Yeah,
Seeing
the contaminated aggregate as a permanent, seeing the contaminated aggregate as a joyful, seeing the contaminated aggregate as a pure, seeing the contaminated aggregate as a self. 그 등어 된바 그딴 거 딜라 등어라 춘절로를 유터당 아니 디 많이 봐 똑바들라 디딴 거 개주시더랬어.
Yeah, so the distorted views are the wrong ways of the mind of engaging with these aspects of the truth of suffering. Yes.
Assume that we are born as contaminated aggregates.
With contaminated aggregates. This is sajinele pumpo dingo so gi ne di yurebe. Gana so gi pumpo sakche sakche be so gi ne.
아, 자집 단나
Kima.
기마 타니레스코.
Gene.
빌라 코 감딜라 자치 마레. 감딜라 자치레라 야마코. 코시 코아딜라 마코 레노 뇽모키. 키와 레스나 코 사치 마레스.
Yes, there's no time that like sometimes it's contaminated, sometimes it's not contaminated. The meaning of contaminated is that inside samsara, the cyclic existence, it's born out of karma and afflictions, karma and negative emotions. So under the power of this, these things are formed, these aggregates are formed. Yeah. Kira di zakang la kira ngala pina mitak musu mitak tongna bento kariyore mitak matongna ta jinde kari ngibi kariyore chna so
저 말은 계셔라. 아니
ngala
Yes. So what is the difference? What is the? Can you explain again the 4th one? Because the 3rd one is the obscuration that the eye. That there is the I which is using the separate from the aggregates, right? So the 4th one, what is it?
ni number somebody number jiba kepa kariyore.
아, 레레. 다 넘버 somebody 넘버 시바 카르게 넘버 somebody라. 공부디 다기 롱 교차. 다디 공부디 롱 교체지다 그래서.
Yes, so the 3rd aspect is like this. So the I is the user, is using the aggregates. The aggregates are what is being used separate.
아니 넘버 시바디 풍고코로 아니 나 답다 그래서.
And the 4th one is seeing the aggregates themselves as I. The aggregates, they are I.
Together.
They're the same.
딜라 다도 풍고 separate 말했어.
Yeah, they're not separate. You don't separate I from the aggregates.
Yeah, so in the 4th, like all the aggregates together, they are the I. So this is the obscuration.
다라. 다딜라 아니 디 참마도 기도 남비 줄라티니 다 엔젠바디가서 말했어. 디 넘발이 치러봐는 no 부팅. 엔젠바디. 삼섭변에 단전라고 던 가서 길어 얘기했어. 참마도 아니 넘바질람 배나 단다 풍부 다도 풍부 타댔다니디 넘바 상기비 길어 봐지 요 커버했어.
Yes, like some aspects, for example, this grasping at permanence. Also, Buddhist, like in Buddhism, we also have this grasping. This other like seeing the I to be the same natures of the aggregates. They're related to theories from other philosophical schools that are not Buddhist. That's why they are mentioned.
노브지 간디타고 카시카지 폼볼 다데 폼봉아가 다다니 저랬어. 폼봉
Yeah, some of these non-Buddhist philosophical schools, they're going to assume ascertain that the aggregates they are I.
가지고 폼봉코로 지보디 다다니 저랬어. 폼봉아가 나가 마타는 폼봉라니 주제지존이 디다다니 저랬어.
폼보직
그런 폼볼은 나시 폼보 캠 서프리마신 폼보라데 폼보 다다니 저랬어.
보직
폼보코로
폼보코라 폼봉아
나가대로 폼보 나가라요만 폼보 찍라요만 폼보코로 에그게티 코로 다다 그랬어.
Some Geshe.
Yes,
some of them they're going to say that not the 5 aggregates are I, not just one aggregate. I tried to ask him if there's a difference in this. He just said no, they just say aggregate. The aggregate is the I.
Can you give some examples to explain the third and fourth aspect?
Ni tentang penangan itu
Just look at yourself right now.
Nova sumpah nova jiba da kiram nós que mitsela tsinshi di kanchas shagre jija ngi jaba sringen jwa di mitako kalarera di pendo kariore ngi kariore di taware
코베라
ya sumpah na jiba kola
페나 맞아 그 지도 딘셈바드 넘버 산지비길이 위해서 말이라 얘네 다도 폼보니 아니 타데다니 주나 폼보는 가서 딘디 그 가르사 고조고 딘디 가리다오라 다도 폼보니다 강발 배경이라 강바디 폼보드자 다디 강바는 딘이 미드자 어 딘이다고 그랬어 폼보디라
yes
다 보면 타데다니라
so I was saying that these distorted views of the third and fourth, we might not have them in our continuum, as Buddhists. But yeah, the third one, the way they're seeing is like a house, like you were a person inside a house. The house is the aggregates, the person's the I.
Yeah. For example, the aggregate is for example, aggregate is just like homes. I is just like this living person. Yeah, they think after they go just the kisit kodrodira. Ani tindi dadan rodile kiwa chimanrode pombote ye andro da ani kiya ngamanin di yongre dini chimandro gore dirita gres.
Yeah, and the way they see is that this person inside the house, when it goes to a future lifetime, like it moves house, it changes house.
Tindi dajindo kozo kanitare dati kiwa ngamani previous life di yong dini future life andro.
And this I that is now in his house, it came from a previous life and it's going to a future lifetime.
That tindi daji yona.
And if there's an I like this,
tindi daji yona ngatsu zuzo andire laga nzu such gore sing.
Yeah, we need to be able to point with our finger at this I. We need to.
Tindi daji ngatsu number sanji dana ngoni sero tasana tindi daji tsiandona.
And then we go to try to find this I in reality, we cannot find this I.
Right now there is here I find it right now. This is my experience. So because of every I know this technique, and I always get stuck in why you say you're not finding the I. My experience right now, this is the I.
Yeah.
I know that if I will try to point at my hand, point at my brain, I know this, but I don't need to because my experience right here is the I.
And you took the Casey Tindy Daji Yetonara, Tindy Dati, zuutuna qa yores.
Yeah. So if you
zubu chashina qa yores.
if you can find your eye, can you tell us like anywhere in your body where is the eye? Where do you feel it?
No, I can't. I mean, I do feel like it's from here, but I can't say. I can't know exactly. I have no idea exactly where it is. But it still doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
If you cannot find it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I can't find it maybe because it's not a physical. It might be because it's not a physical object.
Zugi pumpoi sobre subject sobre jetang ngani tu ngani ma tu na di yomare la tu niwe.
Ti kiro ngadi tembares. Right. Ani number sanji ba yimbala ani jamda oma na ki namshi dar lami jure simzamba na suku kushi da jawra.
그래. 대규 봐. 진짜 그래.
tamyala ma jamda oma dudu ba na simzamba ko ani namshi da daja gres.
Yeah, that's true. That there's a philosophical school in Buddhism. It's called mind only, the Chittamatras. They say that the consciousness is the I. They say this.
namshi darla gres. Da tindig namshi da yena tindig namshi di tanja ga shiwente tindig namshi de cheduna namshi khansa ka namshi rewe ani tiri ga namshi rewe shokpa ka namshi rewe tindig chen rogre kisi yona dire la jin duchi zugores.
And then what the Prasangikas they try to do, the consequentialist school, the Madhyamikas, they say, okay, so but if the I is the consciousness, then which consciousness exactly is the I, and is it when you try to pinpoint the consciousness, the consciousness is already gone. So was it the morning consciousness, or is it the consciousness right now at this moment? But you cannot pinpoint the consciousness of this moment neither.
Kisi da yona
If
namshi
there's
da
an
yena
I,
kisi namshi da yena
if the consciousness is an I, if the mind is the I,
ya ni ndire la ngatsundu ni jindu tuksaye launare njasachi yogores.
Chuksa.
Ndire la tensachi yogores.
Yeah, we need to if the mind is the I, we also need to find it. We need to be able to pinpoint it.
This is my I.
This is I, yeah.
So tindi yendo ngazu tindi ji rago mares.
And it's hard. We cannot find this. We cannot get this.
Tindi yindi namshi damayi badi tiniyo tachichondores. Tanjalushina.
And because of this, the Prasangikas they decide that the consciousness is not the I.
Tindi yindi da yore da mere da yores. Da kari da kare jalodi.
But it doesn't mean that there's no I also. There is an I.
And it da kare jalodi. Pena pumbu ngaso pena pedro lajil pedro ko pumbu zubu tinchar yondel pedro laji ko miji taunde til daja wara mado pedro ko ta dare mar na dare la mares
Kre pedro dila kre da kawere.
pena pedro laji ko pumbu la tini tabi daji mado ngorong ngoni kito bi daji yo mares.
So the way they say that the I exists, so it doesn't mean that the I doesn't exist. It still exists. You have an I. The way this I exists, so depending on your aggregates, physical, conscious, etc. aggregates, on the 5 aggregates, so there is a term. So there is a term that is designated, like Geshe. So depending on these aggregates, the I is this designation, is this name, only name, the name Geshe.
Yeah, name
or I.
Can't we name this exist? The I which existed, a different name, and the I which doesn't exist, a different name. We are confusing with telling that I exist and I exist. So the I is the confusion. And also,
그래서 직접 표현했던 게 그러나 다요 다음에
다요 어제도 필름이 뭔지 망거는 이 결선 저시 아니 컨트롤도 지쳐버스.
그래 직접
가시 다요를 가시 다메를 필름이 뭔지 그 똑바자 아니 똑바자 거레스. 뒤인딩이 결혼할 때 걸, 이것이 contact the Javas.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, so yeah, there's an I that exists, I that doesn't exist. So I'll try to explain this.
Because I take coffee.
Yeah, we go back to the impermanence, we go back to a
It's
simple
like really nice
aspect.
in a class of beginners and not of other Geshes, yeah? You have to explain it for stupid people.
But the questions they're coming in the side of this emptiness, the hard points. So
Yeah,
My-
we give separate name, like I that exists, it should be coffee, the I does not exist, it should become empty.
tea.
The confusion will not be there.
Yeah. Da ye labdile ko pumbo la tini tebi dadi di pena digun choa dingo nyungre choa dewa nyungre kesi damene choa nyungke yomara pumbo la tini tabi tini ke dadi ane rong ngoyi ki matroba ngoyi ki matroba
So okay, so the I that exists. Okay, so we can call coffee. It's okay. The I that exists. So yeah, so
Translation dari Papua, maybe Sanskrit or
in Tibetan, yeah, Tibetan is daye, dame. Daye is the I that exists, dame
no
doesn't
it
exist.
is,
Yeah, daye. So the I that exists. So what is it? What is this? So depending on the 5 aggregates, independence on these 5 aggregates, it's designated, is imputed this I that exists, and this I is going to experience, for example, the feelings, etc. If there is no I, nothing is going to experience these feelings. But it's not established by itself, by its own nature, only independence on the aggregates, on other things, that other than itself.
And who is imputing it?
Su ming tagre,
아
tobe tak tsamre, tagre.
di löi tagores ngazo go
The mind.
음
The mind imputes.
maybe samsara.
야 아니 베나 coffee dila coffee de ngazo coffee thong la kore coffee shimbo do la kore
For example, to this coffee here, we say this coffee is delicious. I'm gonna drink this coffee.
yeah we drink coffee it's a good taste di ngoi di yoros
Yeah, this exists, right? This coffee.
인자 딘디 coffee di 코로 coffee la ni chulu 코로 ngoi ki troba 아니 셀라 마타 마텐 바고 또 따자 많이 비 coffee chi 민도as
But the coffee that exists by itself, by its own power, not depending on anything else, and a coffee that
ngoi 맞아
yeah, not existing by its own nature.
yeah
Existing by its own nature, this coffee doesn't exist.
yeah
Yeah.
디 다메 라가 다여 라디 ngoi ki mato bita di yo la ores 다여 라가 다디 롱 ngoi ki mato bita 미참 그 다디 yo la ores
Yes, so this I that exists, so it's an I that doesn't exist by its own nature, by its own power. It's an I that exists merely imputed I, only name, Mingtam. If you translate directly, only name.
다 다음에 다디 다음에라디 다 디니고 롱고니 지트비다 아니 또 비타자 많이 비다 단 다레라 단주
So the I that doesn't exist is the I that wronging or
ngoni 지트바
wronging.
롱 저바 롱고니 저바
So it's an I that is established independently by itself, by its own power. It's an I that exists. 아니,
아니 계시 제엔도는 녀메 if we search we can't find
yeah, if you search we cannot find seine Krankschrift
롱고니 좀 맞춰봐 롱고니 지트비다요 말이스 let's say that 딘디체스
yeah, sorry. And then also this I that it's not just a mere name, doesn't exist. He said this before. I remember.
아니 야 진이 조심해야 돼
Yeah, so it made any sense?
So the I that exists, daye, dame,
yeah da you know existence
so it's like selflessness or
yeah
which one is what?
Dayo and the mid and number sumpa the number
이 넘버
jiba the
넘버 somebody 집안이 가는 줄 알아요라 가서 공부디 되게 다라 되게 다디 다도 전에 녀야요 지금 다시 잘 그래서
the two it's related to the two aspects actually.
Yeah. so
Both
which
of
one
them.
is which? Oh,
No, the both of them dayo and the mid
다요도 다음에 거긴 디노를 다요도 다음에 라디 다요라디 코고 다요라 그 다디 간지 샤워는 아니 다바인게 다 기초들다 다 기초들 그 다다 다바레스 롱아레스 직브레스
직브레스
딘디 다시
number
다고레스
number jiban
니
nicha.
넘버 som버시가 니가 직브레고 다서
Nicha.
추질 기본부는 이렇게 요만해
Yeah. So both the third aspect and the fourth aspect, they're going to see the I as being permanent, unitary, and independent.
okay.
And then
제도 딘디 메디 네 다음에 바로 왔어
not existing like this is a selflessness.
no it's an emptiness
This is the dogme. Yeah, doesn't exist.
yes yeah 이 많이 추진 걸 알아 다 딘디 다디 야 메아이자 selfless
So I that exists is selflessness. And I that doesn't exist is empty.
알았어
The the I that exists, daye,
I that exists is like the collection of the
Yeah.
aggregates, which becomes the I, which is the I.
the congiven type in the daye the number daye the lokshuk shiba
주시봐
직바 더공 러시시바레 러시시바니 베나 디 퐁퐁가 따그레 이랑키랑 퐁퐁가 때네
어다 폼볼
따그레 네 콘디
야야야
주득 당사
폼보 다다따라 그 드니 글로 친절로 글로디 드니 그 다디 다기 깡그 다디 지바레스 따바행게 지비행게 드니 그 다치 따그레스
Yeah, so in the fourth one, the fourth distorted view, which is seeing the aggregates as the I, so the aggregates are the I. This is holding the I to be permanent, unitary, and independent. This is the way it holds.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. The
third and fourth of obscuration. The obscuration, the third and fourth obscuration.
Yes,
Not
the
yet.
third and fourth, distorted views, yes. Yes.
Not yet the obscuration, because this is the mistake. The obscuration are the mistake.
좀 자세히
It's okay? Yes.
디사나마
The third aspect,
Uh-huh.
so the house, the human cannot exist without the house, right? That's
디 넘버 somebody
Number sumba penalty.
폼보 타리타
Lungyu chamena komte tugirebe.
아
Pena mi dan kapa kiram. Senshiyere. Ani kapa mena mi te tugirebe.
the one which is dependent. What's the correct one? Not the distorted one.
Okay, the correct one.
What's the correct one?
Number.
somebody라
Okay, so
Like the four aspects and the four distortions. I think that would make it easier.
yeah, we can write the board maybe the four aspects for the.
디너
I can write in English. Yeah.
저렇지다
Okay, so your question is in the third aspect of emptiness. So the correct one, the third aspect of emptiness, if the
Understand that through an example.
so there is like a person that lives in a house. So you're asking if this person can exist without the house?
No, so what is the meaning of emptiness in the third aspect? What are they trying to say? That the person cannot exist without the house? Is that
Number
somebody
sumpa da kiran yung Geshe tuna number sumpa.
이치야
Ani mi da kapa kiran na tigomre da tigomre chedan gam sati. Nanda da
Then,
number sumpa ni mi da kapa
넘버 somebody 딘디 다나 르그 딘디 진쟁고로 마도 딘디 열어 말해서라
그래 연기.
르이 삼몽고 딘디 따요레스 르르 삼몽라 딘디 열에 삼젠데요저 르긴 젠초레 마도 아니 딘디 코 체지 디존 딘디 따 말해서 삼몽을 간지 다르려나 하고서
그래.
So it changes.
Samo
이거 찾아서 number somebody 동바.
동바디 풍보동 다니 타데타바 다풍 뭐 타데타바
못하다 받았어.
나도 풍 타데를 따고 그랬어.
No,
아,
that's not-
나도 풍부이 separate
딜
그랬어.
럭셔리.
로지라.
럭셔리.
다들 담에 봐. 일라 디고 노처럼 디고 로처디 동반이 용 인터넷에 용 같이 용하나. 근데 그
이거 말해. 이게 잘.
근데 그 다디 매야 인상. 근데 그 다디 간디저 다도 풍부 타데다니 그 다디 따빠잉게 지비잉게 롱와. 디디 다디 매야 인상. 빌라 동니샤 그랬어.
Honest. So this emptiness in the third aspect. So going back to just the distorted view a little bit. So the distorted view here is seeing that there's the I, and then there are the 5 aggregates. So they're separate. So this I is seen as independent of the 5 aggregates. It's seeing existent, unitary, one I, independent, and permanent, not changing. So the opposite of this is the correct view, is the aspect, the third aspect that's called emptiness. So it's saying there is no such thing. There is no I that is separate from the aggregates existing in this way that you're perceiving being unitary, independent. Okay, so do you guys want me to write the 4 aspects and 4 distorted views? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to write here first. Maybe we can turn on the light. Okay, so first one is impermanence aspect. Permanent. Suffering. Emptiness. And selflessness. So these are the aspects. Okay. And then the 4 4 distorted views.
Is permanent.
They're a bit more
Permanent.
longer to write. Yeah,
Permanent.
this is permanent. Yeah, the distorted view is going to be permanent.
Joy.
Happiness, it's
Yeah, yeah.
joyful.
Yeah,
Happiness.
yeah.
Happiness.
Emptiness.
The third one.
These are happiness.
Nobody.
Should be of that joy.
The suffering, happiness. Suffering and idoa.
Pure. And
Seeing the contaminated aggregate as pure.
itself is pure.
Yeah, so these are the names of the Lukshula, of the 4 distorted views in the simple pure and self. Right? These are the names.
Pure? No.
Yeah, pure.
Pure. So this the numbers of the Lukshu ni kakareda. The Uji.
Pure the kind of tower in the Tajandua. That's Zangma. Takwa Chipperon, Zangita.
Yeah, so this one is perceiving, so the one perceiving them as separate, right? The third one, the pure one. And it's perceiving as permanent, unitary, independent, and pure.
Zangita.
So these are the truths of the universe, like that is like the always true in every.
Yeah.
Because do not ever it's a little
Three months. Permanent. It's an another one. Yeah, but it's the body. Permanent total.
In any sort, do not ever Yes, at any time in the past, present, and future, these 4 they are true, yes. And then he was saying that for most of us, we perceive ourselves like this with this aspect.
So, but what I don't get is like, we're talking about what suffering is, so how is suffering, like suffering is an aspect of suffering, like,
아니, 네. 동영이 대반이 동영이 기초 지그래 니 동영이 기초 동영이 디 도도민기 도브링 거다.
Yeah.
내려와 거같이.
Yeah.
리타스더라. 단다 공부 정확 따스더라. 틱
네,
로직을
뭐가 뒤도.
대화 따스더라. 공부 대화다고라스.
so that's why.
지도 그룹 공부 뭐 그룹 란시 가르 고 등을 견하지레스.
Yeah, so usually the nature, the second one, the nature of this contaminated aggregates, it's of the nature of suffering, but there is the distorted view of perceiving it as happiness, these contaminated aggregates.
Okay. The first noble truth is everything is suffering, more or less.
예.
차상 등가래.
그러와.
Yeah.
And these are aspects of this first noble truth, not of the second.
The first, yeah.
Because she now understood it's part of the second.
This is the first, yeah.
Yeah.
등가기 나버려.
영어.
First of all, is that the about impermanence, no?
This is all about the first noble truth, which is the truth of suffering.
Okay, that's for this.
Yeah, this is all truth of suffering.
야, 등을. 등을기 란시 뭐네 간디라나? 근데 자진열에 풍부 코르 취지존이라 이 코르 펌 아니 메타베 란시레스.
Yeah, so here when we're talking about the truth of suffering, the subject that we're talking about are the contaminated aggregates. The aggregates. And yeah.
티가 란시
취지들이.
취지 티가 란시 코르 가르 메타베 란시레스.
And this subject that we're looking, what is the nature of this object that we're analyzing, the contaminated aggregates? It is impermanent. That's what it's saying.
티노지 등을 란시레스.
Just like it's impermanent, it's also suffering, of the nature of suffering.
티노지 코 동이 란시레스.
And also it's of the nature of emptiness.
아니 담베 란시레스.
Also it's selfless.
이나 가서 가르토 토고 말하려나? 아니 니 처마디노 그 등을 처만 가서 많이 런디금 마 가서 커리지는 또 토고 말했어. 너 진짜로 불러주다.
But because of this distorted views that we have, we cannot perceive these contaminated aggregates as having these qualities, that these aspects, the four aspects.
근데 뭐다버 로지 통하라. 따반데 불르기만 죽게 그랬어. 그만 통 주고 말했어. 단제 불르기.
For example, the grasping at the permanence of the contaminated aggregates prevents us of having a realization that it is actually impermanent.
But with the aggregates, do we actually mean the body?
아니 이거는 분볼람나니 이거는 가리.
내가 지금 리폰 우리 폰보.
I need to search in English. I forgot
which
the aggregates.
yeah good dear 폰보.
That's more or less.
Yeah, so there is the aggregates of form,
야, 저와
feeling,
저한테시
perception,
제
formation,
안 버시와.
and consciousness.
근데 초바들 폰보라 그랬어.
And then the aggregation of this, the collection of this is called the aggregates. 아니 공기도하디 인간스 기수보 폰보레베.
어디 즈기 폰보라 생각하는 통해야
Yeah,
돼.
this is the aggregate of form. Zuki pompo. This is the aggregate of form, this physical
맞아,
form.
용기하기디 스피니드 초이 폰보레스.
What we're feeling, the feelings you have, they are the aggregate of feeling.
저번에 십도인데 저거 라디오 코프가 러인더라.
The aggregate of
Mapena.
perception is related to the mind.
야, 남십 폰.
Namshipumpo, yes, is the consciousness. Yeah.
First is form, second is
Form, feeling, perception,
perception.
formation, and consciousness.
That's all.
What's perception?
What is perception? Shigipumpo Karina.
듯이
Dishegi pumpo karina.
Dishi labdi pena ngazo lula karsa. Pena dishi labdi pena ndat ngandi tau shigo ndo ala ko lujero.
Keringi.
Pena nga tiri sanyi dishi labdi pena pedo tau di ngoma mashina michi kyonda shijana. Nga kumu shigo ndo ala ko tinu lujeros. Pena chita ngani ngoma mashiro mishimba ko kyo pedo la nga mombo shero. Teni nga pedo nga shigo ndo asani konyamde nga tuni ngo ko shigo ndo sami sambadi.
Sigo gidu sabadi. Dishegi pumpore.
Dishi ba.
Dishegi pumpore.
Dishi ba la.
Dishegi pumpore ba.
Dishi pumpore. Ta pumpore di po.
Dishegi pumpore.
Ani di samadira. Mind ra.
Dishegi pumpo mind.
Dishi po.
Talking about something completely.
Listen. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. So this aggregate of perception, maybe perception is not maybe the best translation, I don't know, but yeah, he's saying that, for example, let's say I have never met Pedro, and then someone tells me a lot about Pedro, and then I have the thought, oh, I really want to meet Pedro. Yes, this is the aggregate of perception. A mind.
Yeah,
it's a
mind.
mind.
Yeah. Part of the mind.
It's part of the mind. Yeah.
So like what we carry from behind, and that also shapes our perception, right? I mean, like, the kind of-
Yeah. I'm gonna say Gavjon. Gavjon, I'm gonna say Geshe, Chris, Chigen, take it.
And the Tera Pena
Yes.
Jibjon Ramada, Jabju Yaga, Yate, do tears.
Yeah, depending on different backgrounds, you see things differently. So, that's a Dishigi Pumpo. Formation, Dishigi Pumpo.
Shit Ladi Naban the Chebalati, Moment the Chebalati, and Moment the Chepalotilla. The Jison Johnny per Maripa can moment the Chelati. The Jis Jar the chip chain Rajara. The Chebaloti, moment the Chebaloti go to Shindon Roger.
Shindon?
Just a deserve to know.
Du shit Pumpo Mareve.
The second get to the shit down.
Du shit, du shit. She goes on, you know that du shit, the Shipa.
Moment the Cheba.
The Cheba,
The moment the Cheba, the Tangati savage shit than the shitamaso. Kunda,
yeah, I cannot say very clearly now, explain very clearly what is this formation aggregate right now. The Chigi Pumpo. Yes. And in Namshegi Pumpo, and then the fifth one?
I'm being a number ship Pumpo.
That is the fifth one.
The fifth one is the consciousness.
Consciousness.
Yeah, like sense consciousness and the mental consciousness. That's that.
Even though.
If I gonna do it again.
Yeah, shit that.
I'm gonna say bena ngik zagan lang din bena ngana so mitakpa yana yeah mitakpa tokwa yana ni bento karriere mitak yeah
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Pumpo de mitakpa in tokna bento karriere ani matokna ni karriere. So he thought about going to the second truth of origin, and I said no, but I have a question. So if we, for example, if we realize that the aggregates, they are of the nature of impermanence, what is the benefit in this? And if we don't realize, why is it something bad?
Kasi nga zo pumbo mataba toto na le tigi ji pena kwan zubu mataba totil dishi tamche mataba toto pres.
Yeah, so first, if we can realize that these aggregates, they are impermanent, at the same time we also realize that all the other phenomena, they're also of the nature of impermanence.
Din tongdila kwan koi no chukaren zina di metabe ronj tongto pres.
Then we can see that anything that inside samsara is of the nature of impermanence.
Di indiko kichi ginja to tilatini kisi 그런 아니 대충 무부 가는 데를 차박 침부여나 그 차박 방식만 동로 그랬어.
And if you can realize that the phenomena, they're changing moment by moment, then let's say there is one object that you have strong attachment towards this object. This goes down immediately if you can recognize the impermanence.
배는데 커피를 좋아들 차바시 기여나
For example, if we have a strong attachment to the taste of this coffee,
이 메타버 방식 통연들 그 차박 방식 동로 그랬어.
if you
차박 기자
can,
유라 말이야.
if you can realize that it's impermanent, then you're not gonna get a basis. You're not gonna find a basis in order to give rise to this attachment. 그렇지네, 그렇지, 이렇게 말해.
가르치는 코 기지근 지연로들 그 차박 기사 그 아니 커피 가이 통고 말았어. 그 기지그만 코만 두스만 로들 딜라티니 가지고 메타버 무슨 동부 동을 땅시 기오랬어.
진짜는
진짜 패턴
진짜 그래?
그 랑식 마징도 통은들 코파 땅시로 코로코로 마징도라 기지 인자한로 요 야투 마투 뜻인데 담부 또디.
So for example, if looking at this coffee, so in if we realize that the subtle impermanence of this coffee that is changing moment by moment, then you cannot find one moment to give rise to this attachment. You cannot find this basis because at the second moment it's already not there anymore, like this. And then he said something I didn't understand. 나중에 나중에 지라기랑 이제 딱 그런게 그렇잖아.
메타버 담부 또디. 코페나 컴바트서 통이들 컴바트 마 두스마 요 야투 마직 뜻통들 땅시를 그랬어.
Oh, and then the moment that you have this realization of impermanence, at the first moments you get a strong fear.
Yeah,
you get a strong fear actually.
When you understand that the cup is changing all the time?
No, it's yours.
With iron? Yeah.
change.
이게 지금이야나 이게 지금. Everything, all the composite phenomena, yeah, all the everything at the same time.
Yeah. 근데 탐지 따봐라. 근데 니마치 탐지 아니고 근데 탐지 기준 요하로 그래. 니마치 요하여 막 답변하지.
Yes, the composite phenomena, they are changing. The non-composite phenomena, they don't change. Yeah. That's
What is non-composite?
두메체 카리나.
두마치 랍딜로코 가디 난겨하면 봐. 답변하지 봐.
The non-composite phenomena, they are permanent. They don't change.
No.
가르리.
Condivision venima shadi imanubde. This is impermanent, yes. The sunset, sunrise, impermanent. For example, space. Space is something permanent. And the truth of cessation, the third truth that we didn't get yet, the truth of cessation in the mind stream of a Buddha, that's permanent, it doesn't change. 지난번에 썼다 니바라 전화 니 듣서다 카마 뭐좀해야죠.
내가 맞아 니바디 진짜 샤올라다. 다 맞아 근주 덴비고 로지다 나바카 진짜 샤이다.
So now we're going to go briefly in the second noble truth. We don't have much time, but we'll go briefly.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't finish all the aspects.
Yes. Yeah, this is the first aspect.
But you said 16.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Don't worry, there are no 64 aspects, thank God.
아니 근종 그 동부 로직 시나라.
Okay, so the first one in Lushukarina.
로직이 등을 기메타.
Dunga Gumeta. So
What is the second truth?
Ah, yeah.
So get into the truth of causes. Yeah.
The truth of origin. Yeah. Truth
Yeah.
of origin, yeah.
Like where does the suffering come from? What is the root of
Somebody
the
calls
suffering?
truth of root of suffering.
The root of suffering, yeah, the cause of suffering, yeah.
Mm.
So the first the distorted view. The first distorted view of the second noble truth, the truth of origin, is
Jumetawa.
seeing suffering as causeless, without a cause.
뒤 다운 zenketo 아니 건가 수길려요. 아니 장패 비길려요.
So this is something that one of the philosophical schools, non-Buddhist philosophical schools that I forgot the name, they hold this to be the case. I think maybe Sankhya, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Jitsu,
말아 장패라.
not the Sankhya, sorry.
끼양아 지키려고 말했어.
Ah, listen. So it's a school also that doesn't believe in rebirth. Okay.
그저 그 아니 니니 끼니 신이 정도라고 그랬어.
Yeah, they said when we die, it's over.
야. 이그 등을 라틀 규여 말했어.
They say that the suffering has no cause.
규메라티 아니 레당 세바니 들어. 근데 그 등을 그 규라 아니 레라지도 세바라지 그저 그여 말라 그랬어.
They say that here it said that the cause of suffering is the contaminated karma and craving, and they say that these are not the causes of suffering. Yeah.
뒤에도 그서 그 아니 등을 알지요 말에 다분가서 본본라도만 되니 끼요니 신을 시선 어를 찾았어.
Yeah, they say that there is no cause for this suffering. We get these aggregates, and then when we die, it's over.
What's the name of this book?
I don't know the name of this. Gyampen. Sorry, I don't. Gyampen.
But it's a non-Buddhist school.
Yeah,
it's a non-Buddhist school. Yeah.
So why do we care?
I think it might be. I think it's Lokayata. Lokayata, yeah, if you're interested. Or Charvaka. Did Lokayata, you know, Charvaka. Charvaka, yes.
Charvakaya. 다 니바디 아니 로지 디글 도초딜라.
Сочили там, сепак или чина чашигана.
동포지 맞지 tro시.
Listen.
아니 니바 로지 니바드 가르라나. 로지 니바.
Listen.
이 기치 코나 잡았다 그랬어. 로지 니바디.
규칙. Okay, so we'll come back to this first distorted view, but the second distorted view is seeing suffering as being produced by a single cause, only one cause. Okay.
디 간디 타워르로디 아니 디께죠.
And how do they see this?
께죠 데 규레. ngaso 규칙라 규칙도 술다가리 께죠.
규칙이래. 그냥 산딜라 suffering 람규레. 디다 둥겨레. 네,
등을 규르셔라.
둥겨 규레 배나 건사기 규레.
그냥 ngaso 사실 녀를 풍부데 그도 등을 티키네 버렸어.
둥겨디 killing
killing 달라 규칙이랬어. 규칙이 술레나 께죠.
So the second one is related to the Samkhya school. And the Samkhya school, they have this theory of Purusha and Prakriti, right? And this Prakriti is seen to be, they accept that the aggregates, they are the nature of suffering, and they believe that this Prakriti is the single cause for this aggregate to exist. Yeah.
This is distorted view, right?
Yes, these are all distorted views as seeing suffering as single cause.
Distorted view somebody 아니 원주소 결루요 원한테 제반 somebody.
Okay, so the third distorted view is seeing the suffering not
suffering 말다. 원주소래.
Sorry, not suffering. Here it's seeing them
원주다 아니 께죠.
Gitso konso di pengirejo. Suffering. Sorry, again. The third distorted view is seeing suffering as projected by the mind of Ishvara and others. So basically, Ishvara is like a god, you can say. No, it's this suffering is created by the mind of God. No,
디
that's
간디
a very
타올라나
distorted view.
디 간디 저러나 고소 디 가르 르 가리 타올라나 아니 께츠도 온슈 소지 아니 코로소고 드바카 아니 가서 저 베는 저 미츠소 어디 가사 아니 직대된 맛 끼발레 주그레스
This is the belief that, you know, by the wishes of a god, of a creator god, that they create these aggregates, the sentient beings in it, and then takes them back.
질 고도고 아니 코로소세요 야께츠를 야 탐도 그레스
And then later, yeah, when they die, this creator god takes them somewhere.
딘디 그쯤서디 기초 가르르잖아 란식 바바이가라 니코 못하바 다그레스
Nika mi tava tagres di shibarebe.
니지바들
Di dem di la kring di kansarebe yona wonchu
다디 그 인식다 그
등경을
가레시나
sing tem di la lanani di tani chparera. Di la tem nga dungalabin. Ni da sing tem nga dungal labyu dani dak labgo.
딩어데 말인데 디 시딤 람디 란식타 람디 온추 코르코 온추 온추 디께죠 디 란식 타바란제레스 니코 못하바레스
Yes. Okay, so the fourth distorted view might be a bit confusing. So this is seeing Ishvara, so this greater God, or Prakriti, this fundamental nature of the Sankhya's, as being inherently permanent, but temporarily for the moment impermanent.
디 간디체오로나 고조 기도 타바레 고조
Usually they are permanent, yeah.
야 삼사 고든 교회 랑지건 르긴 교회 랑지건 아니 르 심치 뭔거지 아니 직대라마 기알래야지들이 지그레스
So they are like permanent, but sometimes they become impermanent. They make sentient beings, they become the cause for sentient beings to born, etc. And then they go back to being permanent, which is their nature.
Like the devil, right?
Like that.
Like the devil, which is permanent, become
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a being that sometimes it's usually permanent, but can assume the nature of impermanence temporarily and then go back at being permanent.
다티 넘버 제간로서
Yeah,
로지진도서
just said it, yeah.
넘버 제시나
Hmm.
담보디
Nobody.
규디 origination causeless
That's
production conditional
mhm.
디 넘버 제드레스
That's it. Okay, so the four aspects, if anyone is taking notes. The first one is called origination. The second one is called causality. The third one is called production, and the fourth one is called conditionality. Okay.
다티 다시 있잖아라
Hmm.
아니 규라디 고조 규메 달로디로 아니 등을 기어 말이다데 등을 기어 바데 아니 간디 도글레나 아니 사제게 레다 스바디
Hmm.
아니 등을 그규 이바디 아니 맞어 아니
The dumbo.
음
So and then the first aspect. So now not the distorted view. The first aspect that's called cause. So towards these distorted views that say that suffering doesn't have a cause, right? The first distorted view is causeless. So here the cause of suffering is asserted to be the contaminated karma and craving. Contaminated karma and craving.
어디 등을 기규 등을 기규 매바 말 등을 견도 등을 기규라 아니 사실 레담 세바니레스
That's needed.
Mhm.
These are the two causes of suffering.
음
The contaminated karma and craving. Sipa.
되니 기축 코나게 제바다라들 기축 코나게 세우 말에서와 기축 코나 제바다라들
Yujukanada?
아들 등어 답라 주 직체 말에서 배나 안에 맞추 디 배나 니 세지잖아 배나 강사지기 심지치 세나 디기 동보 주 마르바 그 아니야 그 몸비 마르바 야 센도 마르바 용거레스 시다들
Mari pa yang
또 말을 바꾸는 놈이
Mm.
아니 센더기 르기 심지 세요 왔어. 기일에서 사고.
Gini legrilas. Pero Mari pa tane con se dongi gire.
그럴 심지 세그레스.
La tane simjen segires.
배나로 아니 나서 심지 답을 배나를 심지 답을 쓰나 규들라 some löйтeni gücüden lükteni günileyinga. Unwholesome
gyni.
action in mind and unwholesome action about your body.
Okay, so regarding the second distorted view of thinking that suffering has only one cause, and it's a mistaken cause here also, right?
Geçtikçe marki momboyores düngola.
And then here, the aspect is saying that it's not just one cause, there are many causes for suffering. For example, through ignorance, a person gives rise to the wish, the intention, for example, to kill an animal, and then goes and kills the animal, and this karma also becomes a cause for suffering. Did I say right? I think I said right. I don't know. Sorry, I was a bit confused.
Question?
Diyo, connection di sajele don seba, connection ni shagare. Sajele don seba. So he asked for questions, and I came first with a question. So I came asking the contaminated karma and the craving. Why do you need to say two as a cause for suffering, and how does it work for them to become causes of suffering?
Benarwa. Ani mato ne barley.
Okay, so for example, let's say we have a barley, right? The plant.
Barley di gyuras.
The barley is the cause here in this example.
Ante ko barley gyuatsu ko contribute was.
Just by having a seed of barley, you don't get barley. You don't get the fruit of barley.
The barley di shenga tola shenola chudon lugo was.
When you plant the barley on the farm, on the field, you need to have nutrients, you need to have water.
The
karma here is like the seed of barley.
The
craving is like the water that you water the seed.
Ani sebake tenchi chichini jude megores. Lechik mego leg jiu megora.
Jiu megore.
Legura. Saji leto jiu, saji leto sepalo leto gura. Tido saji leladi leta burlit chigore. Ani sebaladi tenchi chichini so ani chudan lutabres. Kesi tendege burli lan jibu gona tagi kangi chud lugore mato. Yeah,
so if you need the result here, right, the fruit of the barley, which is suffering together, you need to have both the cause of the contaminated karma, which is the seed of barley, and also the water, which is craving. One without the other, you don't get the result.
Barley, karma di Gorinjala Seba di Mena ko
yeah, without the craving here, you cannot get the effect of suffering.
So the idea here is by understanding the causes of suffering, we reduce how much we suffer and we manage our expectations.
It's some tools that I'm also doing yeah, if we understand the causes of suffering, the idea, if we understand the causes of suffering, we can decrease our suffering.
So contaminated karma, I'm assuming like that is what we carry on from the cycle of lives.
Zakchele karan tishagaptuna, zakchele karina.
Zakche ladila, chito zachi ladila zakpa gisonwa chi shawara. Zakpa gisonwa ke zapati, ani nyomon shagares.
Yeah, so when you say contaminated karma, so what is contaminating here? So this is karma that is contaminated, right? So it's dirty. And it's contaminated by negative emotions, afflictions.
Pena the mogodi sachiris. Dilatini zaba kandi jungurun dilatini dosha kigwa kachi mobile anga mobile go la ndobale dosha kigwa.
So for example, this cell phone is contaminated. It's contaminated by it's like a cause for the attachment for people, cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any pena coffee tava draw yabu coffee tene tondo kin doba kigwa. Coffee
So
is
also
sachiris.
coffee because coffee is delicious. It's a delicious drink.
Sachira. Coffee
It's
sachiris.
contaminated. It's contaminated because it gives the people the
Good test.
attachment
Yeah,
wanting to drink it.
Dilatini masokun le samon chabat kigwa.
On top of this, our mind gives rise to attachment of this delicious taste.
So my question is, I understand that how the suffering is coming, but what are we supposed to learn from this first? Basically, the insight that we get from this.
그래서 능력은 간다스 능력이 용기링이 하고 이는 그리 독특직 계약 커리어에 변화되다 능력이 하거나 그리 책을 읽어버려.
그래서 등은 그 인토나 맞아 등은 같은 도구 말았어.
Now, if you understand the causes of suffering, so at any time we don't want suffering, right? We don't want to suffer.
딜라테니
So
딜라테니 등은 그좀 스스로 마저알 아니 등은 그 같이 드라마고알 마 아니 뇨리 동안 그 답이
So on top of this, because of this wish you have not to suffer, so if you see the causes of suffering, then at any opportunity you have, you're not going to go in the direction of these causes of suffering. You're going to try to remove them and to decrease them, yeah?
So I understand, but the first truth is that suffering is going to be there, right?
The 능력이 대박 공기하고 떠난다니. 그러니까 doing not 능력 되기래. 그래서 참아 능력이 그래. 아니 공기하고 떠나니까 doing not 되기래 봐.
되게 말했어. 계속 처럼 그 등을 뒤 매봐줘. 탑시 아니 손지 그 종목을 탑시 못 손이랬어.
Yeah, no, it's not always going to be like this. Don't worry. So there are many methods to be free from this suffering. Yes.
베네케로 아니 같이 톱도 계속 뒤 마다나 젬바라지 동도나 젬바 동도나 티키 주기야 쪽으로스
주그래?
게와 오추
그래서 게와도 그래.
젬바 동나 기야 용도 디종다 기야 용도
그래서 아닌디
티 코로게 등을 마마노알 타블로 치라스.
For example, one method, if you practice generosity as much as you can, suffering is going to go down. It's a virtue to practice generosity.
짐발라디 짐바 단딜로 아니 벤주 치juk 기체 말했어. 스페셜 몽버테 마트 기체 말했어. 저 그런 저야고 그랬어.
And then you don't need also to have a lot of money to do this practice of generosity. It's basically your motivation.
Yeah. 가리 자와 가르치는 motivation 기치시 됐어.
Any action, the most important is the motivation.
But in the second aspect, so there is more than one cause for suffering. But like in general, there are two causes: the karma and the craving, right?
그래서 드네 규칙하는 말에 드네 유니레베 베나 섹츄얼레당 세바니 그래
사지 레당 세바 아니 그바 렘바 가르사 밀라주니 마시온데라 톰마르 아니 니반디스 게바 레바당 게바 세바다 그바 렘바 게바 세바다 그바 렘바라두 게바 세바다 그바 렘바라디 렘바디 주누로라 토마마르바 그 니반디제 레사
토마마리베
그니롱
예다다 갈레갈레 치가
토마마르바 그니롱네 니반디제 레사
라스
텐데 그 레디 파상원로라
라스 남시
제마 텐데 그 파자디야 메용기들 파자디야 메용들 메제티 수르나 레 아니 레 카사 아니 예바 렘바다 고바 세바이레스 예바 세바
Seba lemba.
고바 렘바다 제바 세바
Right.
디 주야 메체기 추들렀다 그랬어.
Okay, so this yeah, talking about the discourses. So this is related to the 12 links of dependent arising. Maybe you have heard. So the first one, so with the beginningless ignorance. So through ignorance, because of ignorance, we accumulate this contaminated karma, right? So the contaminated karma, it's the second of the brain, the links of dependent arising, and then it leaves imprints in the third, in the consciousness. So it like plants these seeds, and then the seeds are there planted, and in the ninth branch, right, the ninth link of dependent arising is the craving, and the 10th link of dependent arising is grasping, which is a stronger craving. So this craving and this grasping, they become the water that waters the seeds that were left there by the karma, that give the
Ripen this. Yeah. Karma is a ripen.
Yeah, this karma is then ripened because of the being watered by craving and grasping.
Yeah.
And then give rise to the 11th and 12th link of dependent arising.
No.
What is it?
12 links of dependent
Karma
arising.
and the grasping.
Craving and grasping, yes. And craving and grasping chala kare yung gire. Jujik
Then new chocolate. Pena
Kyawa?
세지 찍자라. 맞아 끼와 치마라. 아니 밑끼와리지 그 레지 사사나. 데 레디 단단 가서 그 바사가 뭐니 데데 그랬어. 디랍다.
Craving and grasping.
페나 끼와 치마라 가서 미지 끼와 논지 그 규치 사요나. 규티 바사가 뭐는데 남시 아니 다 그래서 다기 텐들 자요레스. 다기자군 바사가 뭐니 요레스.
Dagitende. Okay, so for example, so if we have gathered the karma to become a human being in our next lives, so now this karma has left these imprints like seeds on the top of our, has left the seeds. Yeah.
바사라.
Pachaya, seeds and imprints.
디 맞아 아니 타말은 마 신이 버터 값으로.
So at the end, when after we die, so when we are in the bardo, this transition period between lives.
버터 디페나 나그 기와치마 미지 기와리 지고 버터 디가 난 파마 끼고서 파마디 납초려나.
So then if when I'm in the bardo and I'm looking for a new body, so if my father and mother, they are in the west.
야, 근데 레딩아 납초열 봐봐 땡로 그랬어.
So this karma is going to pull me towards the west, towards this direction.
디노 아닌 코든 라인 그 파마디도 아닌 코니도 체니 코니는 체아점 그야 띵이 기와레지 그 다게 레던 스바티 그야 기와 딘디 근주디야 맥주 그랬어.
그래 연구.
딘디 그 나는 라인이 그 파마 납초 파마니는 최소화.
그래서 최선한다.
아니 디값을 다가 레던 개발 렘바드 그 스바니 그 니근주 미티아디야 메주니 기와 미치기알레 그랬어.
Ni sepa gigres niam.
딘디 레죠.
Temata 그래서 sepa gigres.
맞다. 딘디 나기와 레제 파마던 테러와. 나기고 파마 납초던 납초 파 납버드 판드네 버드 나기고 자가 바바 아마니산 레디 데네를 바바 아마니 값을 바바 아마니 라 기와 디 레디 기와라 게바 세바다 고발렘바가
게바 세바 그래.
게바 세바다 고발렘바기 아니 주메 주그레스 주메니 나미 아니 고소 보티그레스.
Okay, so at the moment that you go like towards that you meet with your parents, like in the bardo, you go to the direction by the power of karma, and then at this moment with the craving and the grasping, it's possible for you to be born in a new body, in a new contaminated aggregate, right? Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I need to go to the toilet.
Yeah. I think 10 hours.
Yeah, maybe now. Yeah,
Just relax, yeah.
Yeah, not
Just relax.
Yes, I think. Neyse Dilaşa.
Yeah.
Thank you, teşekkür ederim. Şey,
It was kind of fun, but you get got
Okay,
point
thank
of-
you.
You get, personally, me, I got some pointers to think about. I liked it.
Oh, nice. Thank you for sharing. Okay, see you. We cannot see you, Meryl. See ya.